Tonight, we celebrate and honor an extraordinary man, someone who has committed tireless time and unselfish energy to make our community and our hospital a better place. That man is Charlie Forster. The Forster family goes all the way back to the mid-1890s. The family immigrated from Germany and ended up in Denver and settled at what today is Federal Boulevard and 4th Avenue. Charlie's grandparents owned a store at the same location called First and Last Chance. It was a bar and it was a bakery.
We owned Forster Radio and Sporting Goods, which was in the exact same location as the First and Last Chance.
In Charlie's life, responsibility came at an early age.
My dad was older, and when I was 5 years old, he passed away. We were open virtually all the time because we lived right in the back of the store, and our kitchen walked right into the sporting goods store. My uncle owned and ran the Federal Boulevard garage, which it was just kind of attached right to the sporting goods store. And he started out in the bicycle sales and repair business before automobiles was a big thing. Fishing season was a big deal, and there was an opening day of fishing season in May. So we would stay open very late selling fishing licenses, and over my lifetime, I ended up selling a whole lot of worms. More worms than I can even imagine. In my later years of junior high and high school, I really didn't date much. At that point in time, what was more important was a date with a fish.
Charlie maintains his lifelong connection with his love of the great outdoors to this very day.
One of the great things about a day on the water with Charlie is there's always a lot of laughs, both about life and about the fishing as well. Certainly the old adage about the big one getting away is proven time and again in our experience out there on the water. And you know, there's always a lot of good opportunity for kind of repartee between the people that are fishing.
Yeah, that's half of the fun of fishing. It's just going with somebody you enjoy and just shooting the bull about whatever, and not having to deal with the concerns of the world. As far as I can remember, I always caught the biggest fish.
Aside from fishing and hunting, Charlie led a simple and meaningful life.
My dad didn't own a car, nor did my mother until later in life. But we were on a main bus route to downtown Denver, so all of our needs of doctors, dentists, whatever, we would just get on the bus and go down to Denver. Church was relatively close. Somebody always picked us up and took us to church.
One of the best memories in Charlie's life was his first car.
I remember my first automobile, which it was a hand-me-down from my sister. And I think that that was about 15 and a half years old, close to when I could drive. It wasn't necessarily terribly reliable, but we didn't worry about those things. If it quit, and we would deal with them. And we cruised Colfax Avenue and 16th Street in downtown Denver. We would pool our monies, the guys and the gals, and we could buy gas for 25 cents.
And then along came Connie.
The way to a man's heart, maybe through his stomach, I don't know. But I proposed to Connie in the kitchen of her home. She was sitting on my lap baking chocolate chip cookies, and I asked her to marry me in the kitchen of her home while I could smell the aroma of nice fresh cooking chocolate chip cookies. We've been married now 47 years, and of course we have a wonderful daughter, Becky, great son-in-law, Dan, and we got 3 great little cowboy grandchildren, Owen, Liam, and Colin. They're the 3 amigos. We have a great time together, and that's how we spend a lot of our time to date.
In 1985, Charlie and Connie arrived in the Arkansas Valley, and here's where we came to know him as the community banker.
Well, I think Charlie Forster represents what some would call the community banker. And there are 1 or 2 others in the county, but Charlie, I think, epitomizes the community banker who goes above and beyond just being in the banking business.
I reflect back on all my years in banking, and again, I was very fortunate to be in an industry, a business, where you were expected to write checks to support community efforts, and you were expected to be involved in communities. A young person today, you step into a community, you're raising a family there. I say you have an obligation to step out and be involved in the community. And there's just so many ways that you can do that. As a businessman, it's easy to find areas of opportunity, but from coaching a little league baseball team to a swim team to serving on the steam plant board, whatever, what you get out of all of those hours that you spend in the community come back many, many times over with the memories of what occurred. And you look at all that's gone on in this community and others. It always took visionaries, and it always took people that were willing to get in and work to accomplish what's here today. One of the highlights, I think, and one of the great memories of my time in Salida will always be the acquisition of the steam plant. And the steam plant at that time, it was owned by Public Service Company. It had an 8-foot fence all the way around it, humming wet cell batteries in the building and transformers setting outside. We sat around the table at one point and said, the building's for sale, it's on the river, we have no idea what we should or could do with it, but as a group, we purchased that building.
The Heart of the Rockies Regional Medical Center is a jewel, to be sure, and is one of the finest medical facilities in the country. Charlie's fingerprint rests on this facility as well.
But of course, the other thing that became very important to me was the hospital. In 1992, Bob Rush came to me, and Bob and his dad had been very active in the hospital. In fact, his dad was one of the purchasers of the hospital when the Rio Grande Railroad Union decided to sell the hospital to the community. But Bob came to me and asked if I would co-chair a fundraising effort to add a small additional area onto the hospital, which in the end it modernized with 3 new operating rooms. It modernized the hospital. It added additional space for other docs and for imaging and those kinds of things. And this is the hospital down on First Street.
There were turbulent times in the early days of the hospital.
A highlight, and it was also a low point in the time of the hospital, and that was in the late 90s and right into the early 2000s when, as a board, Dr. Leonardi was the chairman of the board, and later then it became Bob Rush. But as a board, we looked and saw that management of the hospital just wasn't accomplishing what we thought they should accomplish.
We were affiliated with Quorum at that time, and that's a multi-hospital consortium, and we were paying them to manage the hospital. In fact, our CEO was an employee of theirs. And they would send a finance guy to our monthly board meetings, and of course we'd have a monthly finance report, and he would go through all that and tell us everything was fine. But Charlie was looking at these same finance reports, and he was telling the rest of us on the board, things are not fine, we're sinking fairly rapidly.
We concluded that at the time of an expiration of their contract, that we would just fire them and that we would go it alone. We just knew that we had to step away and move forward with the regional care center, which certainly there were stressful times between the board and the community and the board and staff at the hospital. But the decision to do that back then was a highlight because it is what allowed us to move forward in a new way to what we have today. I look now at the hospital and I see just an incredible facility that is absolutely one of the top critical access hospitals in the country, probably in the top 4 or 5 critical access hospitals in the country. And it started with this little hospital that a group of people in the community got together, bought the hospital. They then funded expansion of the hospital, and then of course later continued to the point where we're setting with the facility that we have today. I look at the hospital today and it's flying in a great way. We do such a good job with delivery of quality health service, but also the human element of caregiving. That is very much a part of what happens here with our hospital.
Charlie served tirelessly on the hospital board and the foundation board for many years.
I've learned an awful lot about the banking business, the hospital, history of the hospital, and the history of the valley, frankly. I mean, if you follow the last 30 years or so, at every twist and turn, Charlie Forster's been there.
I served continually for about 16 years on the foundation board. We always had great foundation board members that were committed to this hospital and committed to the needs of this hospital. And I would say this, there never was a time in a fundraising effort that we didn't achieve our goals. And I think that continues today. You know, we've just matured as an organization, even as a foundation, and we're just setting in a great position to contribute and help this hospital going forward. Lots of hours, lots and lots of hours spent on the foundation and with the board, and they were all wonderful hours, wonderful times to remember, and we got done what we needed to do.
Charlie, all of us are thankful for the contributions you have made to our community and for the lives you have touched along the way. So with that, we say, thank you, Charlie Forster.